Hello again, this is Kyle from Telin, here to talk about how to approach sizing and quoting out a system for a prospective customer based on a copy of their phone bill. The reason that this video needs to exist in the first place is due to the staggering number and variety of ways companies sell telephony service. Let's keep a few goals in mind while we scroll through the phone bill. We would like to determine the following. How is it being sold? On a seat basis or a line basis? How many DIDs? Is there any toll-free usage? E911 registrations? Is there any faxing? Is the hardware owned or leased? Let's keep those goals in the back of our mind as we scroll through the phone bill here. First, I notice that this is being sold on a per-user basis. Many times you will see this referred to as seats, or users, or agents. Basically, there is a cost that is being incurred for each person that is accessing the phone system. This vendor uses a pretty generic SKU name, but I'm going to use this to determine my user count, make note, and move on. I'm going to try to structure my quote in a manner that is easily digestible and can be offered in an apples-to-apples comparison against what they are currently paying. The DID count is normally fairly straightforward, but the important thing to note is that some providers have historically offered every user a DID whether they use it or not. Frequently, I see end users with a bucket of 50 DIDs where only 3 or 4 are actually in use. It's always worth a discussion with the customer to determine what they are keeping and what numbers can be released. It would appear that this vendor offers the DIDs as part of the user cost. I say that because the DID count, the fee is $0. Toll-free usage can be problematic to estimate without good historical data. The best you can do is an estimation of what their bill will look like with your toll-free rating. When I'm skimming through the bill here, I just want to identify, is there a toll-free number represented? And if so, how much traffic does it get? Luckily, most providers will list the toll-free usage on this bill as it is rated usage and not unlimited like what you would frequently see on local calling. It would be even better if you could average a few months worth of toll-free usage. Remember that the more data you have, the more accurate you will be able to quote the customer. E911 registrations are the next item to look at. Historically, we would see carriers provide one E911 registration per DID. 3CX handles E911s with a bit more granular control. This means that you really only need a single E911 registration per unique location. This is something where you likely can provide cost savings to the customer. This bill doesn't list any E911 directly. They likely have that rolled under one of their recovery fees. Does the bill show any faxing use? 3CX handles inbound faxing to email through its inbound fax server. Outbound faxing will either require an ATA and a physical fax machine, or they could use an eFax service. If you can see fax usage data, that is even better, but most of the time the usage data will be unavailable. This bill does not specify any fax use. Lastly, we would like to determine, are their phones being bought outright, or are they being leased monthly as some part of contract? This is important because it can give you some direction on what type of quote the customer might be expecting, and it also gives you an idea of what hardware they have on site. I see the bill doesn't specify a phone type as being leased. A little additional research shows me that this vendor sells phones outright, so there probably isn't a hardware lease to worry about. Just to reiterate, I now know that this system needs to be quoted for 51 users, 27 local DIDs, 2 toll-free DIDs, and some fairly substantial toll-free usage. I also know that they have owned phone hardware that might be compatible with the new solution. What I don't know for sure is how many SIP channels to offer. Faxing usage, none was represented on the bill, so now I need to check with the customer, as well as the actual model of phone they are using. That would be important to check compatibility. A good starting point on licensing and SIP channel count would be a 3-to-1 ratio for a standard size business. In this case, that would wind up as 16 or 17 SIP channels. Now that I've identified the key variables in the phone bill, I can reflect this onto my own pricing sheet, calculate my retail dollar amount, and determine my desired margin. Now that I have identified the key variables in the phone bill, I can reflect this onto my own pricing sheet, calculate my retail dollar amount needed for the desired margin, and propose a system to the customer. Hopefully this helps shed some light on how I dissect customer phone bills. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.